Hello everyone, namaste, it's Lori. I'm here as promised. It's 10 a.m. Pacific time. I'm gonna wait for a few people to come on before I share too much. I'm excited to share what I'm about to launch, you can say. So I'll be talking about my upcoming Q&A webinar. That's going to happen on September 21st, which happens to be International Peace Day. And then there's going to be a second webinar that's going to happen on Saturday, October 1st. So there's two opportunities. And my intention is actually to do these gatherings once a month or twice a month. I have to see how many people are going to show up, whether it's going to be during the week or a weekend. So on next Wednesday will be the first one. Thank you. Good to see you, Malena. I'm going to try to just really focus, and maybe after my talk, I'll open it up to some questions. But I am still stretching this muscle, which is really important, and my share today will be about, what I had to do in order to share my truth with the world. So, Anne from Ireland's here. I see. Hi, Anne from Northern Ireland, and Malena, who is originally from Peru. We're having a big international feast. So I'm loving that. Okay. So, so this is about my upcoming webinar that's happening on next Wednesday, September 21st, International Peace Day, which was sort of random, but probably not. And then the second one is Saturday, October 1st. So I want to share just my intention is to gather a lot of different people from all around the world with different awarenesses. I'm blessed to work with a lot of parents right now from all around the world. I do most of my coaching on Skype, and I do some mentorships and all sorts of different things. And this is a great opportunity where you can see what I do for a nominal fee, and I want as many people to join, so I'm keeping it that way. And this month you're going to get a two for one, just $22. And there's going to be mini coaching, there's going to be intuitive readings, all of that. I'm coming out and I'm sharing who I am now, and I do want to share my journey a little bit because I think it's important. I'm going to be posting this video all over the place because I think that there's a lot of people that are, that are ready for this information that may not know about me and the work that I do and the work that quite a few of us do, which is supporting parents and working on ourselves and our beliefs. So again, I'm going to go back a little bit to my own journey, and I have a feeling I'm going to be sharing some new things with you that you may not have heard before. So I'm completely coming out. All right. So I've been in the field of autism for 26 years. I started working directly with the kids at the preschool level, special ed, and back in 1990 when I first started, I know I'm dating myself a little here, but the autism statistics were 1 out of 10,000. And now, I don't even know, I think it's 1 out of 88, but I'm not even, I don't even know the statistics for sure. Hi, Sharon. So glad to see you. And so I'm going to move to where I had my first turnaround story, which is in 1995 was when I worked in a and I worked with this kid named Michael, and Michael every morning would build a Jenga block. Some of you guys have heard this story, but I feel it's important to share. So Michael would build a Jenga block cabin every morning like clockwork. And one morning I decided to sit with him and build my own, and I love that there's more and more people jumping on, and I appreciate you. Thank you for all the love and the likes. Anyway, I sat next to him and I started building my own block. I was really honoring his space, but I was really curious, and I thought, well, gosh, he makes it look so easy. I'm going to jump in and I'm going to make my own Jenga block cabin. And I got as far as the roof, and as I got to the roof, it just started collapsing. I mean, I tried 3-4 times, and it was just like, man, what is it? Why can't he makes it look so freaking easy and it's so difficult for me? And it was almost like the clouds just sort of parted and I had this clarity. I had this moment of clarity where I could see that he could see things differently. And I remember I'm surrounded by all of these kids and preschoolers that are diagnosed with autism, and I was like, oh my God, you guys have a gift. You guys see things differently. And I could tell that the way that he was placing his Jenga blocks, it was like this degree. He could literally see, like, you know, the amount of degrees that he was, because he would always just be looking at that block. And, you know, some of us are, not us, but some people do generalize and say, oh, they're so, you know, they're in their own world, but there's so much detail, you know. And in that moment I said, oh my God, there's gifts in autism. And that's where the gifts of autism started, the gifts in autism. And as I said that, it was like Michael knew. Now, I didn't know anything about intuition, that he may have been reading my mind and all of that, which I now know is definitely not more than possible, that is what's happening, because it's happening for me as well. I'm owning my intuition, I'm owning my telepathic skills, so that's another thing that I'm sharing with you today. And we all have it, so that's not something that's secret. I mean, we have to practice. So that's the big thing, is we have to practice everything that we learn. So anyway, that was the day where I saw the gifts in autism, and they celebrated me seeing that. It was like these big spy house jumps, and, you know, kids are so free with their expression, and I felt so free that day. And from then on, I would always ask them, show me the way, show me your gifts. So my question started changing. I no longer saw, I mean, I can't say I no longer saw, but I definitely didn't see autism, you know, in that sort of, okay, what would the word be? More of like, in a negative way. It was more, I had more curiosity about, like, okay, like, you're showing me you have gifts, so now what, you know? So it was like I was expanding more and more into what was possible. So as I would ask these questions, like, show me the way, and I would start looking for the gifts, they would actually reveal their gifts. So that's huge. Instead of putting the energy into, oh, my child has X, Y, and Z issue or deficits, you're going to expand and say, show me your gifts. That will change the whole story, and that is absolutely true. Oh, Janie, good to see you, Janie. Yeah, I mean, autism kids are amazing. They're awesome. There's a lot of misunderstanding, and that's what this Q&A webinar is about. I am happy to answer any questions. There's no limitations on the kinds of questions. You can ask about behavior. You can ask about communication. You can ask about connection. You can ask about, but I really want to open this up to all different types of parents. I do see that evolution is happening, and that the kids today are wired differently. I mean, I even have a nephew in my own family who was diagnosed, maybe is, but he was definitely during his school years, as ADHD. Now, back then, I didn't know any better as far as, like, okay, like, I didn't know that, like, oh, his brain is wired differently, and, like, that's why he acts differently. But there was all that stigma that gets in the way, and that's part of the issue, is that we buy into the stigma of, you know, what we think autism is, or ADHD is, or any label or any unlabel, because the fact is that we all have different neurology. We all have different ways of thinking, and this is bringing me up. I'm thinking about Temple Grandin, who is one of the most famous autistics out there, and she says that we need all types of minds. So you could say that versus neurology, but maybe if we embrace the different types of minds, that will help us expand, and that will definitely help us expand. But I did want to share what happened to me in late 2012, which I was working in the mainstream up until 2012. And then I was given this opportunity of speaking at the Star Knowledge Conference in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I got to share my perspective with the audience, and it was really quite amazing experience for me, because I got to share what I believe in and my perspective, and I was really heard, and I was really trusting that I could share it, because it was the perfect audience to share whatever I needed to share. Um, anyway, when I was driving back from the Star Knowledge Conference, I had there's something magical happens when I drive. I think a lot of people drive. You kind of go into a zone. I knew that I had to leave the mainstream. This is at the end of 2012, by the way. And so by the time I drove home, I knew I had to quit my job with ABA because ABA was draining my energy. I mean, and the thoughts that I was having as I was driving to the sessions were not, they were not positive. They were negative. And it wasn't serving anyone. And it definitely wasn't serving me because of these thoughts, the kids would actually reflect to me, you know, some screams and like you don't want to be here, because I'd be like, I don't want to be there, you know, what am I doing here, blah blah blah, you know, the inner dialogue goes on and on. So finally, in that moment when I'm driving, I knew I had to quit. I knew I had to leave the mainstream, and I knew I had to unhook from the system. And to that, and thank you for the hearts, this is huge, so I appreciate it. Hey, Brian. So I knew I had to leave the system. Was it scary? Hell yeah. It was scary because what was I going to do? I don't know. There was nothing out there. Was no job that I could do. I had to create it on my own. Yeah, I started, you know, stretching myself, and I started working with, you know, families that were ready for this work. And, you know, I started working with families, and now this family that I'm thinking about, the first family that said yes to my coaching, her child is now in 2nd grade, and he's completely mainstreamed, and he's no aid, he's completely on track. But as I say that, you know, we all have our own free will, we all have our own lessons, so everyone's experience is completely different, and I can't say that if I work with you, you're going to get that experience. It all depends on the free will of the child and what is the highest good. But anyway, going back to that decision that I made at the end of 2012, leaving the mainstream was huge, because for me, that was me being able to say, I can now say anything I want. No one is going to stop me from saying anything. And right now, I'm actually declaring that in front of you. I'm saying I can say anything because I've seen 26 years, you know, of being in the community, in the system. I've worked in private school, non-public, public, all different types of schools. I've been at IEP meetings. I've been at progress report meetings. I've worked with families, administrators. I've seen it all. And now I could actually appreciate that, because that's part of my tool set, is that I have that, you know, in my knowing, in my experience. So that's actually going to help me with the Q&A, because I have that experience. I've been there. I haven't always had the knowing that I have today. It's all been, you know, expansive and knowing. And anyway, I don't want to get too far off, but I just wanted to share my experience, and, you know, and me being really open to allowing, you know, what is going to come through, because I do know that, you know, my intention is to be an instrument of the divine. And the more I trust that I'm a vehicle, that I'm an instrument, the more of this information comes through me, and I can support more people. So this is the first time where I'm really reaching out to everyone, you know, no matter what your awareness, where you're at, what kind of kids you have, you know, because parenting isn't easy, you know, and sometimes it's easier when you have an unbiased person that comes in and they can see a little bit more clearly and guide you, and then your intentions will really help also. Like, what is your intention? What would you like to see? So that's where I'm going to go with the Q&A. The first one is, again, next Wednesday. The following one is on a Saturday, October 1st. Yeah, an instrument of the divine, of one divine, of our divine. Yes, Sharon. Good to see you. Muna, hello. Thank you, Muna. I receive. Yeah, so that's where I'm going. I'm completely open. I'm putting myself out there. I know this work is needed. I know that there are people really excited and ready to, you know, to be supported. I went to school for 2 years in spiritual psychology, another thing that I'm coming out and sharing, which for me meant healing unresolved issues that I had from childhood and beyond. And being able to heal some of those unresolved issues, freed up space. Also the intuition, that was where I really started honing in on my intuitive skills and my gifts, which is huge because right now we live in a society that is really dominated by the right side, the practical side, the safety side, the secure side. Most people, would not be able to do what I did in you see, even my nerves a little bit. Because it still is. So what I did in 2012 took a lot of courage. I know that there are more and more people doing it because when your soul is so strong and it's really guiding you, you have to follow your soul. The soul knows. So I'm calling out to your souls right now. If you're ready for a shift, some of you have kids that are on the spectrum that constantly, year after year, are learning the same kindergarten academics. And it's got to stop. These kids are friggin' brilliant. The thing is, they're wired differently. And we need to just tap into that knowing. I mean, I've seen it time after time. I have two young, I would say teenagers now, that are now out of special education and in private school, private academies, that their teachers and everyone that's surrounding them see them for who they are, their intelligence, their whole self. And that just makes a huge difference, and they're thriving. And as a family, I mean, this is amazing. I have families that are now meeting their kids for the first time because they no longer are just like looking at the label. They're literally seeing their child for who they are beyond the label. I mean, this is incredible stuff. This happens over and over again. And like I said, everyone's got their own free will and their own soul, lesson, and also wherever they're supposed to go. But intuitively, we have to trust that, which is huge. Like parents, if you have an autistic child or a child that's different, and there's, lots of children that we're all different. So I want to say that first of all. We're here to teach each other. So the question is, like, what is my child here to teach me? Do you see where I'm going here? So really what I'm saying is this Q&A is going to go deep within. We're going to dig deep. And we're going to heal some of our own beliefs. And, I'm open to wherever we go. And I'm really excited. And I hope that, you're excited too. And if you are, please join in the movement, the webinar. Like I said, I intend to do this every month. But I'm going to see after the first two where most people show up. So from here, I'm going to thank you. I am radiating, Shane, because this is my soul work. I mean, yeah, thank you for seeing me. You always do. I appreciate that. Oh, yeah, I see lots of friends joining me. Yeah, so good to see you. So I'm going to open it up now. If you guys have any questions, I would love to answer any questions, whether it has to do with webinar or children or parenting or whatever. If you just want to say, hey, that's all good. So let me know if you have any questions. I love right now there's 9 people, 9 eyeballs, as one of my friends said. I see 9 eyeballs. And I know a lot of people will be watching this. So let me see. Sharon says, oh, deliberate intention to embrace our differences. Yes. I mean, why, what if we could just see differences? Like, again, I think of Temple Grandin when she's like, all types of minds are needed because, she talks about the Silicon Valley that wouldn't be here if it wasn't for, Asperger's. So why don't we embrace that? Exactly. Deliberate intention. Yeah. You're totally on the same wavelength, Sharon, because I was thinking Abraham. And this is my intention as well. It's going to be very, very similar to that with the Q&A. So there's going to be mini coaching. How cool is that? Mini coaching, and I'm really going to step out of my comfort zone. I'm not going to hold back anything because at this point, why? We're free. And I believe as I do that for you guys, as I speak my truth, that then it gives you guys permission to speak your truth. Yeah. Do you make house calls? I do, actually. I mean, if they're especially local, I know you live in the LA area, but yeah, hey, I believe in possibilities. Anything is possible. Yeah, you live out here. Of course I do. I do make house calls, so thank you for sharing that. And I do, just to put it out there, I do Skype coaching. I do coach with families all around the world. Phone coaching, all of that. I'm completely open, and I love what I do. And it's, to see a family really get their children, parents really connecting with their children, and hearing a kid that still types and says, or I shouldn't say still, but types, that's their way of communication, says, you get me, you really get me. I mean, take that in. You get me. Oh, these people get me. From years and years of people not being able to see, say, an autistic child that's nonverbal, or having the same work handed. Why are they frustrated? Because they're not seen, and they're not heard, and they're not respected. I can go on and on about this. And I know you guys are receiving my energy, and I love that you really see me right now. Yeah, and Melena's writing, my beyond verbal girl has taught me the most profound lessons I've ever imagined. They are helping us raise vibrations and consciousness to all humanity. Amen, Melena. I'm right there with you. You know that. I've learned more from my clients, my students that are diagnosed or labeled, whatever, autism, awesomism. It's incredible. And they come from an unconditional place. And they're teaching us to be more like them in that state of being, unconditional love, and not to judge where we think that they're at, because when we open up and we just connect to who they are, magic happens. And I finally got to say magic. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Debbie. She's noticing the painting behind me, and that was done by Sky, who, interestingly enough, she's a local painter here. She's not on the spectrum. Oh, she might be. Who knows? I don't know her enough. But and what is the spectrum? We're all on the spectrum. But the reason why I bought that painting was because it's got all of those, the branches that are all intertwining, and they're all these different colors, and it reminds me of, our different ways of being, and the kids, and the rainbow. Because if we don't look at just one color all the time, we look at all of the different colors swirling and merging together, it's so much more beautiful. Just like that painting. Thank you, Deb. So I'm going to leave it here, because I know I can go on and on. I think you can hear from my excitement and enthusiasm that I'm excited to get started. If this calls out to you, no matter where you are at, please join in. There's going to be a lot more information. There's a webpage. There's an event page. So I'll definitely getting out there to you guys. And if you guys could share it with your network, even better. Thank you so much. So you guys, thank you for showing up. Namaste, and talk to you soon. Ciao.